Welcome to today's video. Today I'm going to talk about my top 6 favourite movies. Why am I doing a top 6? Because you guys remember I did a top 6 products. I figured I'm just going to keep with the top 6 theme and do top 6s of things. Not all the time, but every now and again we're going to get top 6 of movies. So yeah, so here we go. My first, number 6 in the top 6 of movies is The Shawshank Redemption. I love The Shawshank Redemption. I don't have a copy of The Shawshank Redemption, actually, which is weird. I've looked everywhere and apparently I don't have a copy of it, which I thought was odd. But it's actually on Netflix, so that's okay. But The Shawshank Redemption is such a wonderful film, and I could watch The Shawshank Redemption over and over and over. In fact, when me and Olivia went on holiday in 2000 and I want to say it was 15, I think it was 2015, they had The Shawshank Redemption on the plane, and I watched it on the way there and on the way back because I really enjoy that film. It's everything I like in a film, which is it's complicated and heartbreaking, and you empathise with these characters so much, and you want Andy to succeed, and you want Red to leave, and it's just wonderful. It's wonderful is an odd way to describe The Shawshank Redemption for people who haven't seen it, or people that have seen it. It's a very odd way to describe that movie. It's wonderful, but I think it is, and that's why it's 6 on my top 6 movies of all time. Okay, so coming in at number 5 movie, The Avengers Assemble. This is the first Avengers movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and I loved it. I thought it was wonderful. I remember going to see it the day, I actually went to see this the day it came out, and I went to a friend's party right afterwards. I went to see the Avengers, then I had to go to my friend's party, and I got there and all I spoke about all night was how much I loved this movie and the Avengers movie, because I thought it was great. It's everything after following the Marvel Cinematic Universe, After following the Marvel Cinematic Universe for however many years it took for the Avengers to come out, you finally get there and you felt rewarded by this movie. I felt that it was everything I wanted. The only downside I have to this movie is the lack of Hawkeye in it, and that's my problem with the entire cinematic universe, but that's a whole different kettle of fish right now. But it has everybody in it, and it tied everybody together so wonderfully, and it was everything we were hoping for when we heard that they were going to do this movie, and that I think a lot of people were worried about it. It's very hard to bring all of those personalities together in one movie, and it just worked. See Age of Ultron for reference, when you bring all personalities together. But yes, so this movie I loved. Also, I love Nick Fury, and he's not in it anymore, and I miss Nick Fury, so I watched this when I miss Nick Fury. Okay, number 4 on my list of 6 movies is The Secret Life of Walter Mitty. If you guys have not seen this movie, do yourself a massive favour and go and watch it. You will be so awe-inspired by the storyline of this movie. Don't be put off by the fact that Ben Stiller is in this movie, because Ben Stiller does a lot of the comedy movies. This movie has a wonderful amount of comedy balanced with heartbreaking adventure. For those of you who haven't seen it, I will do a brief rundown of the movie. Walter Mitty, played by Ben Stiller, works at a magazine, and he loses a picture for the cover of the magazine. He then has to go and track down the photographer of this picture, which is sort of a brief outline of what happens, and he gets to go on this, he kind of goes on this one-in-a-lifetime incredible adventure that's a spur-of-the-moment thing. So if you guys have ever been in that state where you're bored of everything and you just want to get on a plane and run away, this movie fulfills that wanderlust. Watch it and you will understand what I am talking about. I actually went to the preview of this movie and loved it. I just thought it was, it says here that it's a wonderfully feel-good movie by The Sun, 4 stars. That's a good way to describe it. It's wonderful, and it's funny and heartbreaking and inspiring, which is all a good thing in a movie. They're the things you want in a movie, that you want to sit down and enjoy. So if you've got a couple of minutes, guys, and you haven't seen this movie, please, please, please go and see it. And let me know what you guys think, because I love this movie so much. As you can tell, I could talk about this movie for hours. So, number 3 on my favourite movies is The Dark Knight. Not the entire trilogy, just The Dark Knight. The Dark Knight is the third in the installment of the Dark Knight trilogy, Batman Begins being the first, The Dark Knight Rises being the last. I love The Dark Knight. I enjoy the film so incredibly much, and incredibly much? Just made up a phrase. It's one of those movies, you remember I said that I can put a movie on in the background and not do anything, and like do stuff to it? This is not one of those movies. If I have it on, I have to watch it from beginning to end the entire way through, and I like it all. Do you remember? Do you guys ever watch a movie and it gets to a section of a movie and you're like, oh, I just don't care what this character is doing? This movie doesn't have that. Everything about this movie I love. I love the grittiness behind it. I love Michael Caine as Batman. He's great. I love the storyline. I love the cinematography behind it. I love the representation of the Joker and the representation of Scarecrow. And who else is in that movie? I like the Commissioner. I like everybody in that movie. I think it works very well. The idea of it is wonderful. And I like that. What I like about it is, at the end of the movie, when Batman catches the Joker, he's got the Joker swinging off a building, and the Joker says to Batman, "You and me are destined to do this forever." And that's what I really liked. I liked that line because you know that the Batman, you know that the Joker is getting out, and you know the Joker is going to do this again. And you don't see the Joker get locked up, so you see the policeman come and get him, but that's the last you see the Joker. You don't see him get locked up, you don't see him in Arkham, so you don't know if he even makes it to Arkham. Like, did the Joker make it to Arkham? Is he going to come back? We obviously know that he's not going to come back, but it was incredible. By the way, The Dark Knight has an Oscar. Heath Ledger won for Best Supporting Actor in that category, so Oscar-winning Dark Knight, by the way. Superhero movies never win Oscars, so... So, yes, I highly recommend The Dark Knight. The music to The Dark Knight is wonderful because there is no music to The Dark Knight. It is just this... They have this sound. It's like a ticking sound the entire way through the movie. Instead of having actual music. So, Bale is not my favourite Batman. My favourite Batman is the Batman from the TV show, like the first TV show. Then Adam West, then Christian Bale, but... that's not the point. So yes, The Dark Knight. Highly recommend The Dark Knight. You have to see Batman Begins for The Dark Knight to make sense. You don't have to watch The Dark Knight Rises. I recommend you don't. Joseph Gordon-Levitt is amazing, but the movie itself, I didn't enjoy. So, number 2 on my second favourite movies of all time is the Sex and the City movie. If you have not seen the TV show, this movie will not make sense. It's just the way it is. However, if you have seen the TV show, the movie is like an entire season of the show rolled into 2 hours, and it works. Like, a lot happens in the movie, and there is a lot going on, but they do it in such a way that you don't realise that Carrie has a massive problem, and Miranda's got a problem, and they've all got problems, but you don't realise it to begin with. And it does wonderful throwbacks to the TV show and wonderful nods to the show. And I just like it. It's got everything. It's got the city, it's got sex, it's got fashion, it's got hilarious parts in it. Mr. Big is in it if you like Mr. Big. I'm kind of iffy on Big. He does some terrible things to Carrie, okay? But, yes, it's really wonderful. And if you've seen the TV show, you know what happens in the last episode of the show. And they so wonderfully leave it open for this movie to make sense. So some TV shows, they end and you're like, that's the end of the show, and there is no room for another thing. Like, they couldn't bring this show back years later. They couldn't make a movie about this show. I can't think of any of them off the top of my head. But Lost, for instance, they can't really do anything with Lost because they rounded Lost off so wonderfully. And it would almost break my heart if they would do anything to Lost. But the Sex and the City worked, and I just really love this movie. This movie... Do you know what's funny about the movie is there's not anything really special about the movie. Like, it doesn't blow you away. It's not winning any Oscars. But it's wonderful. And I think I like it because I was such a fan of the show. And that's why I like the movie so much. So, yeah, if you guys have not seen the Sex and the City movie and you're a fan of the show, watch the movie. The first one, not the second one. The second one is not good. Watch the first one. Okay, and here we are. My number 1 movie of all time, my favourite movie ever. Actually, before we do that, a couple of honourable mentions. Now You See Me, love Now You See Me. I think that's a wonderful movie about magicians. The first one is brilliant. The second one is okay, but because I already know a lot of the stuff because of the first movie, it kind of loses something in the second movie. So yeah, Now You See Me, I really, really love. Return of the King, brilliant movie. Highly recommend Return of the King. Titanic is another one of those movies I really, really enjoy. Megamind. If you guys need an animated movie to watch with your kid, watch Megamind, because it's amazing. Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island is probably up there in my favourite. If I did a top 10, Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island would definitely be on that list, because I love that movie. And the live-action Scooby-Doo movie, brilliant. Like, guys that are hating on the live-action Scooby-Doo movie, don't watch this video, because I love that movie, okay? So, okay, and now, number one of my favourite movies of all time is Inception. Inception is everything I like in a movie. Inception is complicated. Inception has Leonardo DiCaprio. Inception has this fantasy storyline that I really like in a film. It's gritty like The Dark Knight is. In fact, Inception and The Dark Knight are very similar in the sense that they are quite gritty and down to earth. Not down to earth because they're fantasy, I don't know why I said that. They're quite gritty and I don't know if I'm right, but I think Inception came out first and The Dark Knight stole its sound. So Inception has music and they have a really nice soundtrack, but they have like foghorns instead of music, and it's now called the Inception foghorns, and trailers that have foghorns stole that from Inception. And like, that's really interesting because you're captivated by what's going on? Why are there horns? And a lot of people don't like Inception because they can't follow Inception because it is very complicated. But I loved it, and I saw this movie in the cinema 3 times. That's how much I liked this movie. And I really liked that it was complicated. I liked that I had to really pay attention to what was going on. I liked all of the characters. I empathised with these characters. I empathised with these characters. I enjoyed the dream element to the storyline. I don't dream especially often, so I mean that really touched home for me. The Leonardo DiCaprio is wonderful in this movie. Everybody is wonderful in this movie. Just Leo is the only one I can think of that's actually in it. Tom Hardy's in this movie. Why wouldn't you watch it? But it is one of those movies Joseph Gordon-Levitt is in this movie. You really, really have to pay attention to this movie. It's got some really funny comedy elements to it. It's dramatic, it's gripping, and I just love it. It is my favourite movie of all time, and I don't watch it especially often because I love it so much. And it's one of those movies, do you ever do something, if you like it all the time, you watch it all the time, you don't like it as much anymore. I don't watch Inception all the time because I love Inception so much. So yeah, I recommend you watch Inception. If you don't like complicated movies that you have to pay attention to, you won't like Inception. And that's just the way it is. I love movies I have to really sink my teeth into, and I have to think about them, and I don't know what's going on anymore, and I've really got to work it out. I like to work things out before the characters do. It drives everybody I watch movies crazy, but it's just the way I am. So anyway, thank you guys very much for tuning in and watching and listening to my list of movies. Please go and watch these movies, and if you guys have movies that aren't on this list that you think I would like, please leave me a comment down below with your 6 favourite movies, and we can discuss movies together. I love movies. I love discussing movies with people. So yeah, leave me a comment about your 6 favourite movies, what you think about my 6 favourite movies, and we'll have a conversation. Kwaherini, guys!